Why do I have 24 bank accounts? That sounds crazy. I'm going to tell you exactly why I have crisscrossed the world to set up 24 different bank accounts in this video. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson, and if you're looking at banking offshore, you might say, is this what I've got to do? Do I have to open 24 different accounts? Is this the only way to get the benefits of living the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle, protecting my money and keeping more of it? And the answer is no. I'm going to tell you why I've opened so many accounts, and I'm going to tell you what you can take from that. For me, I have for long sought the ultimate diversification. But this is also kind of fun for me. I have enjoyed crisscrossing the world and testing out different accounts, doing what I call R&D, where I go in and figure out which banks work, which banks don't. What I've learned in that process is that a banker that's not worse than a government worker is often worth their weight in gold. We think of bankers as being part of this, business system, and that inherently it's more efficient than the government. But quite frankly, oftentimes government workers are much more efficient, and they give you a much more straight scoop than bankers do. And so what I've done in the process is go and open accounts, about 24 that are still open. I keep a spreadsheet because sometimes you forget about an account, and particularly in my days as a US person, it was important to make sure I had every account. Didn't want to forget any. But what I've done is figure out, okay, which banks will not only be cooperative in helping me open an account. If I walk in, if I go somewhere and I've researched in advance, okay, I'm going to go to Romania, and these are the top two banks I want to identify, I'm going to walk in. Will they be cooperative and let me open an account? In the case of Romania, no, you now need a tax ID number. That ship has sailed. But what is the level of cooperation in opening the account? And then I'll monitor the account for a while. Then I'll get the account open. I'll try the online banking. I will see if I want to send an email, or I want to make a phone call, or I want to do a transfer, or I'll generally get a debit card and I'll just try and buy a baguette on the street and see how that works. I'll go on and check, what was the currency conversion rate on that transaction. I'll take a few bucks out of the ATM and I'll see, what happens there. One of my favorite banks in Singapore, I got whacked with a huge fee when I took money out of the bank when I was in Europe through the ATM. I said, well, I'm not going to use that anymore. I'll use one of my other accounts for taking money out when I'm traveling. And so those are the things that I've observed over having 24 different accounts. Why would anyone want to have that many accounts? Well, you probably wouldn't. And at this point, my account in Mongolia has like $8 in it, and I'm just too lazy to call and deal with it and close it down. I'm not going to go there for my $8. But I realized Mongolia probably isn't a place that works for most people. But what I found was you can get a lot of currency diversification in the sense of not only having your home currency, which could be US dollars, could be euros, could be pounds, obviously US dollars being the easiest. You can get those currencies out of the way. And then you can get more of the potential safe haven currencies like Hong Kong dollars, Singapore dollars, potentially Swiss franc. Then you can get into some of the more exotic currencies that have higher interest rates, that potentially have some other kind of potential. The Georgian lari, the Armenian dram, any currencies where you're living, any currencies you want to take a call option on. You think that the Colombian peso is going to recover eventually. Open an account in Colombia. And so those are the benefits that I've really focused on. Currency diversification for me was very important. Also important was setting up and seeing just what business was like in each part of the world. And again, Mongolia, it's been a place that's been much ballyhooed. I've been very underwhelmed, both when I opened the account and now about 2 years later, by what happened in Mongolia. I just think that there's a lot of talk. People get carried away with the high interest rates, and it's just not it's not nearly as user-friendly. And to me, that speaks something about the business culture. And now, helping a few people who are doing business in Mongolia, I see it's not really that friendly for business. And so banking, for me, has somewhat been a window into the soul of the business friendliness of a country. At least as one data point. Georgian banks, super good online banking, relatively responsive, just not perfect, nothing's perfect, but it speaks to the fact that the country is relatively pro-business. Mongolia, kind of the opposite. If an account is always giving you problems, then you learn, okay, well, this bank and maybe this country and the local business culture just aren't that friendly. So I benefited from the currency diversification. I've benefited from learning what happens in each country and having all those data points. What I've also done, and why I think having multiple bank accounts makes sense, is that if you're going to be investing in different places around the world, it's nice to have what I would call regional banking hubs. So I've talked a lot about investing in Cambodia. I would rather be making an investment in Cambodia for my bank in Singapore, not because I'm trying to hide anything. I'll tell you that I'm in Cambodia and you can do the same. But a banker in Singapore is going to more understand, because they know people who are investing in this ASEAN region, of which Cambodia is also a part. It's going to make more sense to them. Whereas the banker in the UK is going to be like, Cambodia, what's this all about? Again, not saying to hide anything. I think offshore banking today is about show and tell, not hiding things. But if you can make your life operationally more simple, I think regional banking hubs are sensible for that. And so for me, having all those different bank accounts was not only about the currency diversification, not only about trying things out, not only about finding out which bank was best for transactional, which bank was best for wealth storage, which bank gave me access to the Singapore dollars that I want to hold because I believe in the currency, or the Hong Kong dollars because I think there's a story there, but also how to make my life operationally more simple as I'm making investments around the globe. You watch one of these TV shows where they over-dramatize offshore accounts and they get it all wrong, but one thing they'll be like, oh, send the money from the Mauritius account. Yeah, if you're sending money to India, probably sending it from the Mauritius account makes a lot more sense than sending it from the Canadian account, just from an operational perspective, because that bank gets it. And so that's what I figured out over the last 12 years. What I would tell you is this: you don't need 24 accounts. What you probably want is a small portfolio of accounts, both personally, and if you have a business, you want a couple accounts for that as well. For all the reasons that I mentioned, because no one bank, no one anything serves every purpose that you have, right? You're not going to find one bank that has super low fees, easy for transactions, super stable, super secure, great jurisdiction, excellent customer service. The guy calls you on your birthday. That's not going to be one jurisdiction. You want to cut it into a few different banks. And by doing that, you build redundancies to where if there's ever an issue or you're ever unhappy with one bank, you're not tethered to them. Because if you kept all your money in a bank in a certain country, you might have to fly there to close the account and then wire the money out. And it just might not be operationally helpful to you to do that. So not only distributing the things that you need from offshore banks as a whole across several different institutions, but also creating redundancies for yourself, I think has been a big takeaway that I would suggest to anyone. And so when someone comes to me and asks for help, my advice generally involves, let's set up 2 or 3 accounts for each of your entities, for you and any companies you have, to achieve that very purpose. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson from Nomad Capitalist. I wrote this book, which you can find on Amazon, to distill a lot of the stuff we talk about in these videos and a lot of the stuff I've learned over the last decade plus traveling all around the world, teaching you about how to legally reduce your taxes, build your personal freedom, and create wealth faster. Definitely get a copy of this book if you want to learn more. Now, if you want to watch more videos, make sure you subscribe to our channel and make sure you click the notifications bell so you never miss one of our new videos with more tips on how to go where you're treated best. And if you're already a 6- or 7-figure entrepreneur and you'd like to put these strategies in place for yourself, go to nomadcapitalist.com and learn about how I can help you.